family, social issues, education, religion, government, or national security. Brannon brings the issues of the day into clear focus through the lens of a Judeo-Christian worldview. And now, here is your host, Brannon Howse.
And welcome to the broadcast on this Thursday night, July 23rd, 2026. Folks, I need you to tweet, text, email, Facebook, Getter, Truth Social. I'm about to have on Dr. Doug Frank, and we're going to talk about a lot of new information that we did not have time to get to at the 1 o'clock Central Time slot for radio and television today. Many of you were sitting in messages, have him on more often, have him on again. And I said, come back tonight. So he did. Now, we're going to play a video that he recorded of a young man in South Korea named John. It's his letter to America. We're going to show you a lot of video footage of the hundreds of thousands that he spoke to in South Korea as the communists are taking power in South Korea. It looks like it was done through voter fraud. He also held up a book today written by a man that he was traveling with there in South Korea, who is the equivalent of being the former CIA director. He was the equivalent of being the CIA director in South Korea. He's now out of government and has written a book about the quiet coup. And as Dr. Frank said today, it reads like the very playbook taking place in America. Dr. Frank was warning us today on radio that he is very concerned President Trump, the Republican Party, will lose the House this fall, and that President Trump will go ahead and enact his executive powers under an executive order he brought about in 2018 and is renewed since coming back into the office for a second term, the right to take control of all the evidence related to election fraud and freeze everything, to not certify. Of course, that could set up incredible conflict, chaos this fall. So what Dr. Doug is warning about, very few people are talking about. We're going to do that here tonight with brand new video footage that we didn't have to play today at 1 o'clock because we didn't have it. We now have it. You're going to see a lot of what Dr. Frank was doing there. You're going to hear from a young man, John, from South Korea with his open letter to America. He's speaking it. You're also going to see and hear from the former ambassador of America to South Korea speaking, a very emotional speech. He is not being allowed to leave South Korea and travel back to America. Dr. Frank will explain why. But why South Korea is a object lesson for what could be coming to America, maybe even as soon as this fall. So again, this is not hyperbole. It is not hype. It is documentation, video footage, speeches, and people on the ground in South Korea that are warning that indeed what is happening to us is happening to you. It's the same template. And of course, we're very concerned about the church, the Christians in South Korea. So will you please, right now, tweet, text, email, Facebook, Getter, Truth Social, tell people to go right now to worldviewtube.com, worldviewtube.com, right now, as Dr. Doug Frank is about to come on. Now, this afternoon, I pre-recorded an interview with my reporter on the ground in Israel, who is now here in America and will be with us in studio next week, Aharon Levarko, because we are getting reports that it is very possible that the fighting could resume with Israel against Iran as soon as this weekend. We are approaching an attack on Iran, perhaps this weekend. So says one of the Likud members. That's a member of their Knesset. So if that happens, we will be breaking into programming and covering it here. But we're going to get a report from Aharon Levarko, who is now in the state of Tennessee, but the other end of the state, making his way our direction. Do you appreciate all we're doing here, folks? If you appreciate all we're shoving out to you related to education and research, we need your support. Summer months, giving drops. We need you to stop what you're doing right now. Go and donate $5, $10, $20, $50, whatever you can afford to do. Please go right now to worldviewfoundation.com and make a contribution, will you? worldviewfoundation.com. We have some ground to make up for our giving for the month of July, because again, a lot of people kind of check out during the summer months. So please go and make a $5, $10, $20, $50, wherever you can do a contribution now. If you can do more, thank you. If you want to send a check, you can go to worldviewfoundation.com. You'll find our mailing address there, worldviewfoundation.com. Please do that. Now, you know how to support us. You can go to worldviewtube.com/sponsors. That's another way. You'll find links for many wonderful products. You can find it for Numi, loaded with glutathione to detox your cells. Studies show it may remove mercury from your brain, helping prevent Alzheimer's, dementia, and Parkinson's. You'll find Bella Grace. I do this every day. 3 powerful ingredients in this elixir. Cat's claw, astaxanthin, and collagen with the peptides cut short so your body can absorb it. I take the phytoplankton Gatatana every day. I drink it every day with my dinner. And it's, according to many experts, very hard for those free radicals to live in your body when you are drinking a phytoplankton. Okay? I'm just telling you what the studies and research shows. This is all available at worldviewtube.com/sponsors. You can also find Worldview Talk there. That's bulletproof backpacks, that's solar generators, and much more. So please, you'll find the melissaprotein.com there. I'm taking that protein each and every day, trying to get down a little bit further in my weight category. I'm not overweight. I just want to be a little more thin, a little more trim. So the protein, folks, I take about 6-7 tablets every day. My appetite is suppressed through the whole day. It speeds up my metabolism, helps me burn fat, and it gives me energy. And then I can have maybe a handful of raisins or peanuts during the day. And other than that, I'm waiting for a very reasonable dinner. And last night I had vegetable pie that Melissa made. And at the end of it, about an hour later, I said to her, I had 2 very reasonable slices of vegetable pie, but I am so full because my stomach is apparently shrinking. So the very reasonable vegetable pie I had more than filled me up. So it is working. The protein also helps you build muscle mass and maintain muscle mass as well. So I'm a big fan of these protein tablets, and I've even been on them 2 weeks yet. Melissa's been on them for 4 months. She's very happy with the response that she's getting. So all of this is available at worldviewtube.com/sponsors, worldviewtube.com/sponsors. So please consider going there, worldviewtube.com/sponsors. And don't forget about Worldview Gold. Get your free, no risk, no obligation packet on putting gold into your IRA. Again, folks, you need to do your homework on your 401ks, on your pensions that reports say are being loaded up with a lot of junk like AI investments, etc. And if this pops, many people are going to lose like they did again in 2008. I talked to a friend of mine today, a realtor, and I was explaining some of this to her, and she said, we saw that in 2008. And some of those folks lost 30-40% of their net worth, and some of them died and never saw it come back. They died a few years later, they didn't live long enough to see their wealth come back, to even be made whole again. Well, Peter Schiff and the man that wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad, a lot of these guys are saying what's coming will make 2008 look like a picnic. So you might want to consider going to Worldview Gold right now, filling out the form and getting the packet of information to put gold into your IRA, physical gold that you can put into a depository in Delaware, or go ahead and buy gold yourself and take physical custody. So all the details are there, or you can call 1-877, I think we have a number for it, 1-877-864-1072. There it is, 1-877-864-1072. 1072. The price is dropped. I think this is, in my opinion, a great time to buy. I don't give financial advice. I give financial opinion. My opinion is this is a great time to jump in with the price where it's at and where I think it's going. But it's not about making money, folks. It's about preserving your wealth, your purchasing power, what you have saved. And when gold goes up, it's usually because the dollar is going down and there's inflationary issues. So again, you do what you want, but at least get yourself educated. And you can do that with the free packet at worldviewgold.com or 1-877-864-1072. I have been working with this company for now around 18 years, okay? And a lot of you have done business with them, and a lot of you, like me, trust them because of our experience with them. So, worldviewgold.com. Let's get started. He was on radio with us today, TV radio at 1 o'clock Central, and we just scratched the surface. We had so many people say, have him back. Well, we are having him back, and the him is Dr. Doug Frank. You need to tweet, text, email, Facebook, Getter, True Social, because we're about to bring you a report about South Korea. And John, he lives there in South Korea. He wanted to write a letter to you tonight. He wanted you to hear from him. He said, can I write a letter to America? And Doug Frank said, yes. Better yet, let's roll the camera and you can speak to them. We're about to play that letter. I have not heard it. I'll be hearing it with you for the first time. But if I had to guess, I bet he's saying, America, wake up, understand what's happening. It can happen to you. And come help us. I don't know. I'm just guessing. We'll see. We're going to play it. We're also going to show you some pictures, huge crowds that Dr. Doug Frank spoke at while they're in South Korea. Dr. Doug, welcome back to the broadcast. Thanks for being with us.
Good to be with you, brother. Thanks for having me.
All right. For those who didn't catch the 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock Central, 1 is Central, 2 Eastern radio show, TV show today, what were you doing in South Korea?
Well, as we said in the program earlier today, they're undergoing a transition. It's really a coup that's been happening. It's taken decades to prepare, and now it's happened. And they're basically changing over to being a communist government. And the way it's been effectively done in the last 2 years is with 2 majorly corrupt elections. 9 out of 10 people there are pro-American, pro-MAGA. And what happened was, how can you possibly elect a communist president under those circumstances? So that happened a year ago. And then I was asked by the former prime minister, Hwang Kyo-ahn, to come observe their elections and to work with their election fraud detection team. And you know me, that's one of my specialties. And so I was there, and to be honest with you, I dropped everything at the last minute and I just got on a plane and went. And I didn't really know what I was getting into. And I assumed I was going to be sitting in a cubicle somewhere, downloading data and analyzing data and making graphs and reporting graphs. And I really thought that was going to be my life for a week or so. They have 2 days of early voting, Friday, Saturday, and all their voting's in person, early voting. And then on the following Wednesday, they have election day. And I arrived 2 days before the early voting started. That way it gave me a chance to kind of recover from the big time change and all that travel, and then to meet their team and to go out and visit. So we did a little prep. Then I was there to observe their early voting, and boy, oh boy, was that an eye opener to see how they do their voting there. It's just totally vulnerable. And then we had a couple of days off, and in those in between days, I did tours across the country, visiting a couple of important sites. And I want to talk to you about something. There's very important thing that happened during that time. Right. And then on Wednesday, they had an election day, the in-person election day, and I observed that. And something major happened on that day, and I was in the right place at the right time. And it resulted in 1 million people demonstrating across the country.
Well, let's show the picture, Logan. I mean, look at this. Dr. Doug Frank was speaking to this crowd. We're going to show you the picture. Absolutely amazing. Look at that. You were there speaking to that group.
Right. I'm dead center. In fact, people were there demonstrating because that's the Seoul Coliseum, the handball Coliseum. And the way they do their voting there is people vote in person at their local precinct, but no ballots are counted there. They're all collected in these ballot boxes and then are taken to a local a province central counting facility. And in this case, it was at the Seoul Coliseum. And the people knew there was problems in their election. The people knew that the people had been denied the right to vote. And so they surrounded the Coliseum and told the government, we're not going to give you. Yeah, this is my perspective. This is me with my camera showing what it looks like from where I am during the daytime. That picture you showed before was at night. So they were surrounding because they weren't going to give their ballots to the government. So you notice behind me are a bunch of policemen in that little video you saw. Right behind me are they are guarding it. Guess what? The police are allowed to come and go, but the crowd was not letting anyone in or out of the building because they didn't want the fraudulent ballots to get out of there. And they weren't going to let the ballots go back to the government until everybody got a chance to vote. We haven't discussed that yet, but it was incredible. Oh yeah, that video right there. That was it was amazing to be me. All I had to do was show up as an American, and they view me as coming to the rescue. You think about it. In South Korea, from 1950 to 53, America came and we pushed communism back above the 38th parallel. And communism has now successfully taken over the country again, but not with bullets this time. They've used ballots to take over the country. Steady infiltration over decades, and then 2 fraudulent elections. Now their country government is communist, and they're right now changing their constitution to be a socialist country rather than a free republic.
All right, let's go to, with that being said, just remind our audience, by the way, you're also running around with a guy that would have been the equivalent of the CIA director, the former CIA director for South Korea, correct?
Yeah. That so they have a law
called, that's the silent coup or quiet coup?
The quiet coup, color revolution in Seoul.
And we're waiting for it to come out in English. That's a pre-copy.
Yeah, this is a preprint. It should come out, I don't know, maybe in the next month. The subtitle is How a Free Republic Was Engineered Towards Communist Capture.
And what's happening there is happening here.
The same exact stuff. I mean, when I'm sitting on the plane reading this book, or actually I was reading it there too, but it's shocking to read American history in Korea. And they started with the universities and then the legal system and then the government, and they just basically infiltrated every aspect of public life, and they now control that country. They've de-armed all the military that were supposedly guarding the 38th parallel, the demilitarized zone. They are prime ready for a military takeover now. And just today, the government committee got together and said, we're going to start investigating these people who are demonstrating, just like at J6. So all the same stuff that's happened here to us, they're a little ahead of us, maybe like 1 or 2 years more advanced. So I feel like, and I'm still giving presentations around the country. I'm going to put together a slide where I show a picture of a human body with tumors in it. And then I'm going to show the same picture, the seen body 2 years later where the patient is dead because the tumors have grown. That's the situation we're in America. We have been engineered for a takeover. And I think a first flashpoint is going to be November this year, the midterm.
So you're expecting, and we're going to play some brand new clips here for you, including John's letter, South Korean, his letter to America. I'm about to play it. But I want to get into this a little bit more tonight because we did on radio. You believe that we are now entering a very dangerous window in America. We're going to get into why he thinks that's a dangerous window, what it has to do with an executive order signed by President Trump, and how the media is already running articles about how Trump is preparing to deny Democrats the right to vote. So you can see this conflict, this thesis and antithesis, idea, opposite idea coming, the conflict coming. We'll get to that in a minute. Let's go first, however, and I'm going to see it with you for the first time myself. Tell us the backdrop of John's letter to America, the video we're about to play.
So there were 3 limousines that we would travel around in. One of the limousines had Morse Tan, the former ambassador, in it.
Who, by the way, spoke in America, said something about one of the leaders over there. He went over there, and now they won't let him leave.
He has under a travel ban, yes. And if they get possession of him, we probably will never see more Stan again. He will probably not. He'll disappear, is what I predict.
They'll kill him.
Yes.
So there is a communist revolution underway in South Korea right now.
1,000%.
And now we got word from Gordon Chang and others that North Korea is moving at what looks like they're moving military hardware toward and making roads to move that towards South Korea, which shows us that perhaps, I'm just guessing at this point, I mean, common sense would tell you that North Korea may be preparing to help South Korea's communist leaders deal with the people that are showing up in the hundreds of thousands and more.
Oh, yeah, because, you can't have a public that's 90% pro-MAGA and pro-liberty if you're a communist country. You're going to have to impose some kind of oppression on them, and that they are preparing to do that, and they're already starting. While I was there, for example, these huge demonstrations, it was amazing to be in those big demonstrations. The country took down X. They took Twitter down. They took down X. They took everybody off of it who was 18 and younger and then rebooted it. I mean, they are trying to they are suppressing, and a bunch of the people that I was with, their X accounts were deleted. So you and I have X accounts in America that we can post to each other that will not be posted there. They are oppressing. And in Korea, you got to understand about these people. They're very modern, very technological. Samsung is there. They have a podcast culture. They don't watch TV. They watch each other's podcasts. It's crazy. When I showed up at the airport, when I arrived, there was a whole team, maybe 15 podcasters that did an interview that met me at the airport. They're very much into this podcast culture. So the first limousine had Morris in it and some security, and then and then the third one had a couple extra people with more security. So it was like our entourage coming around. So anyway, we're driving to a location, and I can describe some of this to you, but we were on the way, and John says, I want to write a letter to America. And I said, okay, great. So I got my pad out and I started to take notes, and he's like, after about 2 sentences, I was like already being moved. And I said, stop. And I got my phone out and I just held it up and I said, okay, go. Because you need to hear this. It means a lot. Now, he's a Korean and he's speaking English, so he's a little stuttered, but it's very clear. He's one of the most popular podcasters in Korea. And so this is a big deal. This letter is, as I've been traveling the country since I've been back, I play it at every one of my meetings. Yeah.
Here it is. Here's John's letter to America from South Korea.
I have a letter to America. Dear America, I'm a husband, father of 3. Well, 140 years ago, you came to our land and you taught us the Bible. So now I'm saved. Thank you. Thank you, America. And 1950 to 1953, you came to our land again. You fought for us. You protected us. Almost 36,000 American soldiers died, and more than 100,000 American soldiers got injured. You came to our land to protect us. You bled and died for us. You bled and died instead of us. Thank you. So I'm alive. And still, you're in our land. You're still protecting us. Thank you. And I'm sorry I didn't thank you enough. My brothers, sisters, fathers, mothers in America, in Christ, thank you and love you. From now, we're not gonna just ask for help. We wanna fight for you now. America is the strongest country, but America is fighting a lonely fight. You have your family, brothers and sisters here. From now on, we want to fight for you. America has to be stronger and wealthier. We want to make America stronger and wealthier and greater to protect people, protect the world, to protect freedom of faith. And thank you. So please help. It could be your words, military, finance. Give me some weapons so we can fight for you. Fight for freedom. Fight for freedom of our faith. Thank you. Love you, America.
That's pretty tough. See a grown man sitting there wiping his eyes. All he wants is freedom of religion, freedom of speech, liberty, to live his life quietly. He's acknowledging the sacrifice that we made in the Korean War. And he made a very important point. We need America to be strong militarily. We need America to be strong financially so that America can protect other free societies and have the geopolitical influence to stop dictators from suppressing Christians and people from having their God-given civil liberties. And that is why, of course, America is under attack. Ronald Reagan
100%.
spoke about America being the city on a hill over and over, and how if America falls, other nations around the world will fall. And he is saying that right now. And then he said, but give us weapons to fight. I think there are many in South Korea that are willing to fight and die for their liberty and freedom and for that of their children and grandchildren. But they don't have the Second Amendment like we do, I don't think.
None of them are armed.
And that man clearly is a believer.
Oh, yeah.
And the churches of South Korea are booming, aren't they? There are so many active churches, and they understand the threat of communism. You told me today the pastors are speaking up about voter fraud, whereas we didn't have a lot of that
Right from the
going
pulpit.
on. Right from the pulpit. We didn't have a lot of that going on in America, did we?
No.
The pastors weren't even speaking up about COVID. Well, a lot of the pastors caved to COVID. They took the shot. They turned their churches into places for PCR testing and government shots. You think they're going to speak up about voter fraud? But many of the big pastors in Korea are speaking up about voter fraud, aren't they?
Largest Methodist church in the world, 120,000 members. I spoke at it. And the minister got up afterwards and said, voter fraud is being used to take our country away. And that's exactly what's happening. To me, one of the most important things John said in his letter, and I'm glad it's a powerful letter. It's right, unscripted. He just spoke right from his heart. Is he said, America is fighting a lonely fight. And he understands the importance that America stays strong. And when I was there, meeting with the team, there's a team of election fraud people there. They assumed we had our act together in a lot of categories. We don't. We are corrupt in a lot of the same ways they are. So they were, you could kind of see them go through a transition as we were talking together from America, please be the cavalry and come rescue us, to America, we're ready to take up arms, but we need your help. Well, can we fight together? And you can see that in his letter, where he's saying, look, we're not just saying, oh, I'm a damsel in distress, come save us. He's saying, I'm ready to fight. You fought and bled and died for us before. We're ready to fight this time, and we need you strong. So here we are, America. And that attitude was pervasive everywhere I went. And some of the demonstrations you're going to see in some of the video that I sent, you're going to notice that there, for example, play the one. Yeah, you're going to notice, by the way, that's a prayer meeting. But you're going to notice, look at the flags. Do you see only Korean flags? No, you see American flags up there as well. In other words, they understand that they exist because of our sacrifice before. And they understand that they need a collaboration with us or they're gone. By the way, this is a church service that was taking place. There are 3 primary groups that are demonstrating, massive numbers of people. You can see one American flag there. In that one with the 200,000 college students, you can see just about every other flag is an American flag. They know that they need us and they want to fight with us. So they're trying to bring attention. Yeah, like this. By the way, this is 200,000 college students marching through Seoul. And you need to understand, they were alternating a chant, and the chant had 4 things they were doing. And I think maybe I had a little something to do with that. They were saying, we want a re-election. They came up with that one themselves because, and I'll explain in a minute, their elections were stolen from them. They want to do it over again. Re-election. But then they were also saying 1 day of elections, paper ballots, hand count. I wonder where they got that. So that they would go through this chant and they would do that for a while and then they would stop. And these college students that you're looking at, this is not just like regular college students. These are the Christians on campus college students, or the Turning Point campus. They would do their chanting for a while, and then they would sing hymns for a while, and then they would chant again. It was amazing.
Do we have any audio of that? Any audio of them singing? Any video?
There was some audio in that last one with them singing. This is with them chanting. There, now you can hear singing in this one. So that's them singing hymns.
Wow.
Kamsahamnida means thank you. I learned a little Korean while I was there.
So there are a lot of Christian young people that are fully activated. Now I want to remind everybody.
Huge numbers.
I want to remind everybody. Logan, I don't know if we have the footage to go back and find the footage that Bill Federer gave us of Bill Federer and Charlie Kirk were in South Korea the week before Charlie was assassinated. And I don't know if we still have the footage or not, but Bill Federer said that Charlie told them, I'm going back home. I'm going to do my best to bring influence for your cause and freedom with the Trump administration. And then I got some other places I got to go, and then I'm coming back. Now, I know there's a lot of people running around out there talking about who they think killed Charlie. And I don't know who killed Charlie. But I do know that it looks like, to me, some very powerful communist countries would have every reason to kill Charlie. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, because the war front between communism and the free world is the 38th parallel, and it's right there in South Korea. That is the battlefront, and that is for America to become involved there. That is the last thing that the North Koreans and the communists want, the CCP, and they've been
China, Russia,
yes,
Venezuela, Cuba. None of those countries would want us being involved there and encouraging those young Christians there.
Oh boy, are you right? And that brings up, this is another huge thing. Logan, show that picture of me standing with the AWEB next to me, not the cover of the magazine, the AWEB. What happened? Yes. So while I was there, they would take me to different locations and I would take pictures of myself, selfies. I always do that when I'm not traveling anyway, just to kind of document where I'm at. And then I would post on social medias and just show people where I was. Now, notice what AWEB is: the Association of World Election Bodies. AWEB, and put it in simple terms, is headquarters for the World Election Fraud Cartel. It's AWEB. It was started by Soros. It was funded by USAID until last year. It's basically
which is basically CIA.
It's the export hub for the world.
But the group you named, USAID, that was basically CIA, right?
And until last year, it was funding AWEB. And it has 120 member countries, and it's basically teaching countries how to create fraudulent, capable elections. It's what it's doing. It's going around the world doing this. So the thing is that it came under severe scrutiny a few years ago, and it was exposed with all this fraud and everything within Korea. So it got demoted. They got moved to a different site. Now their funding's being cut. But it's like a dirty little secret in Korea, and you're not supposed to ever say it. Sort of like in America, you never say the N-word. Well, here in Korea, you never say AWeB. So I committed a faux pas without even knowing it. I took a picture of myself in front of that, posted it on social media. Guess what happened the next day? Show the picture of the magazine cover, Logan. I'm suddenly on the cover. It's the only conservative publication they have left. I'm on the cover the next day. And this isn't just Dr. Frank, the famous election expert, coming to Korea to investigate our elections. This is Dr. Frank investigating AWeB. The whole point of that picture is it's America looking into AWeB. You follow me? And suddenly I'm like a national hero. And all I did was take a picture of myself in front of this sign.
Are you suicidal? Are you suicidal?
I know I'm not suicidal. Brandon, I love my life. I love my family, and I'm okay. I'm perfectly fine.
But you realize what you're fooling around with here, right?
But I had no idea. I just stumbled into it. This whole South Korean thing was not at all what I expected. I expected to go there and be in a cubicle, doing election data. And I did a bunch of that, and I published a bunch of those graphs. You know me. Mm-hmm. So I did a lot of that. But I was expecting to have to do there what I do here, go to give public talks. And I gave a press conference on Monday night, and I would show people the data that I had found from the early voting on Friday, Saturday night. I was expecting to have to do the same kind of things there as I do here, except the government gave us a huge favor. I'm telling you, they gave it to us on a silver platter, Brandon. It is amazing. So what happened was election day, about 120 precincts didn't have enough ballots. And they all turned out to be the precincts that are like conservative precincts.
Oh, imagine that.
Imagine that. And so my first thought was they deliberately under-deliver ballots. But I've gone back and run the numbers. They delivered enough ballots. You know why they ran out of ballots? Because during the early voting, Friday and Saturday, there was so much cheating that they used up all the ballots. So what happens is, the next step, you're just going to freak out when you hear this. So that's at the Seoul Coliseum. So, and by that time I was famous. And so everywhere I went, crowds would come gather around me. It's him. It was cool. Anyway, you got to understand, in South Korea, people live vertically. They live in vertical villages. And there'll be like a group of 10 tall high-rise buildings. Like 10,000 people live in this one little area, and they've got a community center and a park and that kind of thing. So everybody's going down to this community center to vote, and they run out of ballots at this one place, Jamsil. And that's where you can show that little video with Trump in it, or the mock-up of Trump. So yeah, exactly. So what happens is, I'm there with Hwang Kyo-on. He's there. Hwang Kyo-on. He's there to my right, and he's shouting, "We go together. We go together."
And who is he?
Because
who is he?
Former prime minister of South Korea, and also former acting president. During Trump's term, he was in office. And so what happens is, we're about 5 minutes away, and we're looking at X and all these because we're going around to the various voting sites on election day, because we're analyzing data and gathering information and whatnot. So what happens is, this precinct, Jamsil, Jamsil, reports that they didn't have enough ballots. And the NEC, the National Election Commission, is telling them, you already have enough ballots. We're not sending you any more. So this is starting to come out on social media. So Hwang Kyo-on and we go over to that place. And you saw me standing there, and we got out our bullhorns and we said, don't give them any of the ballots that are there behind us in that little community center until they give you enough ballots so everybody can vote. And by the way, we've done a whole bunch of analysis in the early voting, and there's probably fraud in those ballots. We think you ought to have a look at those ballots too. Don't just relinquish them to the government. At that time, 10,000 people came down out of that building and surrounded that one little precinct. So that was like the start of something big. Well, of course, everybody's got their cameras out. Everybody's filming every part of this. Within an hour, there were 3 or 4 more precincts, neighboring villages, so to speak, with 10,000 people surrounding their voting place, saying, we're not going to give the government our ballots because they do central count. We're not going to do until we get enough ballots so everybody can vote. by 2 to 3 days later, we had about 1 million people around the country protesting. Now, it didn't start out that way. It started out as just a bunch of 10,000s. But what happened is the police came in one morning, and these people are unarmed. And, there was like these shifts in protest. So like you'd have like the kids at night, the kids like being there after school and in the evenings, and the college kids. And then during the wee hours, it would be the churches. And then during the day, it would be the older people, the ones who remember what communism is like. So there would be like these shifts, huge crowds. You could see the change in the tenor. You could see the change in the energy. It was funnest with the younger people, of course, because they really get going. But the chanting never ended for days. So they would hear. So one morning during the fourth morning or so, the 400 police showed up at that place where I showed that picture. And they formed a wedge and they pushed their way through the crowd, forced their way into the building, seized the ballots, and left. Now, what do those people do? Now you have 10,000 angry Koreans. They pick up and move and join the next precinct over. Happened again. You can see what happened. Within about 4 or 5 days, there were 3 large concentrations of protests, and you opened with the one at Seoul, but there's also one at Jamsek and at Pyeongtaek, and one in Southern Korea as well. 3 major batches of people, about 1 million people protesting. Just amazing to be in the middle of that. So that's how it kind of all happened. So I thought I was going to have to be all clever and smart and statistics and math and show people all the fraud. I didn't have to do any of that. The NEC handed it to us on a silver platter. They told all these precincts, we already gave you enough ballots. We're not sending you more. So all these people are standing in line. They knew they didn't get to vote. They knew there was a lot of cheating, and they weren't going to stand for it because they could feel their country being taken away from them. So that's, and I'm right in the middle of all that. I was right at the spark. I was right in the right place at the right time. It's just totally amazing to be placed at a specific place at a specific time. I don't take any credit for it. I feel like God's always guiding me where I need to be right at the right moment. And
amen.
There you go.
Amen. I think we have found the clip.
Tool.
I think we have found the clip of Charlie Kirk we played that day of his assassination when Bill Federer was there with him the week before in South Korea. Watch this, please.
Attacked this great nation. They wanted to conquer and enslave you. Korea was totally isolated with nowhere to turn, nothing to gain and nothing to receive. After a bloody war of our own, America stepped up and fought for Korean independence. This is what makes America an exceptional nation. We didn't do it for territory or money or to get power. We came here to protect this nation from slavery. In fact, General Douglas MacArthur, my producer tells me, did his famous landing to defeat the communists only about 15 miles from here. When I was growing up, in fact, the middle school I attended was named after General MacArthur. And when I first landed here in South Korea, I saw one of the biggest statues I've ever seen to General Douglas MacArthur. Because in both of our countries, we celebrate those who fight for freedom everywhere on earth. More than 30,000 Americans died protecting the freedom of Korea. Today, Korea has repaid us that debt many times over. For 75 years, Korea has stood alongside us in the battle for freedom against communist tyranny, not just here, but around the world. Korean soldiers fought heroically at our side against communism in Vietnam. May we never forget that Canada didn't do that. Britain did not do that. Germany didn't do that. But Korea was there and had America's back. Korean troops helped America in both Afghanistan and in Iraq. And now today, Korea is our bulwark against the growing power of the Communist Chinese Party. Korea has stood with us, and as long as there are still Koreans ready to answer the call, America and President Donald Trump will stand with you.
우리 아까 약속한 것처럼, we would like to pray for you.
All right, let's stop right there.
We would like to sing a
very
short-
powerful. Now, that of course, I have to again ask, why are others other than maybe you and I not asking the question, is this one reason why Charlie had to be taken out, according to whoever did it? Is this why? Because very powerful communist countries want to take South Korea. They don't want someone like a Charlie Kirk. Now, you've gone over there just a few weeks ago. Here is Dr. Frank speaking this group.
Thank you.
I have. Come. To work
I
with
think
the
you're
Korean
playing the
US.
Korean translation thing, but
Yep.
that's okay.
I came here because President Moon called me in.
I just wanted people to see your speaking. What did you say to them, Frank? Doug?
I told them that the first thing I said is I was honored to be there and to stand with them in their fight against communism. And I said, my stepfather and my father-in-law both fought in the Korean War. And I was happy to pick up the baton where they handed off to me. And you should have heard the crowds. That was, I mean, they were moved by that. And you know, you think about it, we really did fight there. And that is the war front of the free world right there. And so that was big. And then I basically told them that America is not in a position that we're just going to drop whatever we're doing and run over there and defend them, that they're going to have to fight right now and defend themselves. And they need to make large demonstrations to bring it the attention of America. And then I told them I was going to go back to America and tell everybody what I find there and work to get us engaged as well. But we're busy. I said, we're busy fighting in Iran right now. It's not like we're going to immediately drop everything and run there. So they need to stand up for themselves. So, and that's a little different for them, because to them, they're used to having us come in to save them. We've got Camp Humphreys right there. It's the largest military base offshore in the world, right there up north of Seoul, to defend against the North Koreans and the CCP. So they're kind of expecting us. In fact, when I arrived at the airport that first day and the 15 or so podcasters were there, the first question out of their mouth was, when is America going to come and rescue us? And then a couple of nights later, I was on the most popular conservative television program of the country, millions of people watching it live. It's amazing. And the first question of Han Gil is his name. He said, when is America going to come and rescue us? In other words, they're in that mode where they're completely disarmed. They have no way to defend themselves. And they're in the mode where they know they desperately need our intervention. So when is that going to happen? So I said something that I almost regret saying, but I'm glad I said it because it's the truth. I said, you remember when the protest, I told this, I was speaking live on air. I said, you remember when the Iranians protested against their government? and Trump said, we hear you, keep fighting, we'll be there. I said, remember when Trump said that? Well, you need to have demonstrations like that. And Trump will say, likely to say, hey, we hear you, we're coming. But remember, about 30, 40,000, depending who you ask, of those protesters have been slaughtered since.
That's exactly right.
And so I said, this is not an easy road you have ahead, okay? But know that you've got many Americans that love you, and we are going to give the call to come to your aid. But you're going to have to fight. And that's what's so important about John's letter. You notice John didn't say, damsel in distress. He said, we're ready to fight. We're ready to fight with you, but we need you. So come and help. So it's an amazing situation. It's actually happening.
Well, let's talk about this fall real quick before we wrap. But before we do that, I want to play this video from you and ask you who this individual is. Let me show the picture.
Yeah.
Who is this?
That is former ambassador Morse Tan, M-O-R-S-E, like Morse code, Morse Tan.
And he lives here in the U.S.?
Yeah, his father was one of the senior executives at Samsung. He's now retired and lives in America. And Morse Tan was appointed ambassador at large by President Trump in 2019. And in 2015, he and 3 other Americans went to, that includes Gordon Chang and John Mills, went to South Korea to observe their 2025 election, which was totally corrupted. And they elected a communist president, which is impossible. And they know it. And then he arrived at the airport with me when I arrived, because he was going to observe the election with me. One of the things he said to me that was really kind of shook me up, but it really makes sense in retrospect. He says, Dr. Frank, he says, it's amazing how quickly you learn all the problems we have here with our elections here in Korea. He says, a lot of people have come here, but like you understood everything already. And he was trying to compliment me. He was trying to say, boy, you're really smart. You figured this all out. No, it's exactly the same stuff we have going on in America that I've been studying every day of my life for the last 7 years. So it's like, I didn't have to learn anything new except maybe a few nuances of their system. Everything that has happened in their country to corrupt their elections is happening here. And they were even making a joke about it. The team there's about 15 people on their team, their election fraud team. They would say something and ask me a question, and then I would pause, and they would look at me and they'd say, "It's the same in America, isn't it?" It was like a joke. And yes, we have the exact same problems they have, and there's a reason for that. It's because AWeb is basically directing their elections. AWeb is basically directing our elections. It's the World Election Fraud Cartel Organization headquarters.
And you arrived with him, but he was not allowed to leave the country. Right.
Because of the comments he made a year earlier. After he observed the 2025 election, he and the team came back and they held a press conference at the Washington Press Club. And they held the press conference, and they talked about all the fraud in the election. And then, of course, the question becomes, well, they've got an illegitimate president. What are we going to do about it? Well, Morstein is also an attorney and he's a law professor at Liberty University. And he said, well, we've begun an investigation because we're not going to be able to get rid of him with elections because the elections are corrupt. We're going to have to find another strategy. So we've done an investigation into him, a legal investigation, and we've discovered that he has this sob story about how when he was a kid, how he couldn't graduate from high school because of this poor family. He comes from a privileged family. He got thrown out of high school because, according to Morstein, because he and a group of his buddies raped a special needs girl. And so they threw him out. Now, when Morstein announced that, and he started showing all the evidence, and Morse he says, I'm not making an accusation. He says, I'm telling you as an attorney, I have all of this evidence we've collected. It's all signed with affidavits. We've got everything all sworn. He says, I'm an attorney. He says, if I was holding this case today, I'd win this case. So he announced that at the press club because they're thinking about a legal strategy to get this illegitimate president removed. Well, 3 days later, after that, the principal of that high school turned up dead, floating in a lake nearby with his arms and legs cut off. Okay, 3 days later. And obviously he's one of the ones that signed the affidavit. So in other words, they're trying to cover that all up. So when Morse arrived with me at the airport, police met him and they had subpoenas to take him in for questioning. Well, he was prepared, and he had said, no, all of my comments were outside of this country. And everything I said was legal. No, I'm not going for questioning. I'm not a citizen of Korea. I don't have to comply. He had a certain amount of immunity and whatnot. So then the police went to the government and said, we want a travel ban on him. And they got a travel ban against him. It went to court. It's been upheld. It's now in its second month. And something tells me they're not going to let him out.
So, and this man, I'm guessing, is a Christian if he's working with Liberty University, I'm assuming he's a Christian.
Oh, yeah, he's a fine Christian man. Morstein in fact, he went to Wheaton College. I went to Westmont College. We were like sister schools. It was amazing how much in sync we just hit it off instantly. I spent days with the guy. He's a great Christian man.
I would pray that someone would somehow smuggle him out of the country.
I'm glad you said that. We looked into 2 ways of doing that. We went to the embassy, the U.S. embassy in Korea. They would not return our calls. Okay, so that tells you the U.S. embassy has been infiltrated. Okay. We went to Camp Humphreys and we said, hey, we're going to need, let's put him on a jet and fly him back home. They refused to do it. They don't want to create a diplomatic incident. So the next thing is we've got a new ambassador to Korea. Her name is Michelle Steele. She's from Orange County, California. And she was just confirmed in the Senate like a month ago. So my guess is Trump hasn't overtly said anything yet. Now, I'm speculating, but it makes sense. You'll see why I think that. If I were Trump and I heard about all these reports coming from South Korea, but I had just had a brand new ambassador, I'd say, hey, go over there, check it out, and come back and tell me what you got. In other words, I want the official word on things. Don't just listen to this wackadoodle Doug Frank with the bow tie. Let me send my official ambassador over there and find out what's up. So that's what I'm expecting to happen anytime now. And if we can keep Morse out of prison in the meantime, we can probably get him home alive. If Michelle does her job and comes back to D.C. and says, hey, we got a problem. We got to get this guy out of here.
Yeah. Well, he used to work for President Trump, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. In fact, he was one of 3 special. This is a high honor. He was honored by Trump. He's appointed an international ambassador, a peace ambassador or ambassador of peace, something like this. But he's an ambassador at large. He can go into any country in the world and speak on behalf of America. He was the head of the legal department at Liberty University for a while. And then, but anyway, so he's very respected, excellent Christian man, beautiful man with little kids. So let's get him home.
Amen. Here he is speaking. Yeah. Here we go.
Yep, that was at I'm sorry, I'll shut up.
It is not merely the purpose of research. This is my calling.
Amen.
I'm fine with.
He was having a rough time there. He knows he's in trouble.
Praying for the reunification of the North and South, that yoke of war may be broken, and amen. That's.
What's he calling for? What was he saying, Dr. Doug?
Sorry about that. I think the YouTube player is in the translation mode or something screwed up with that. Sorry about that. But when we were there and they put the travel ban on, and we were there together talking about it, and he was talking about that there. He says, look, I don't know what God has in store for me. I don't know why I'm here. He says, if I'm able to bring attention to all this, I don't think he wants to be a martyr, but I think he sees the potential of that. And you notice that I'm there behind. I had just spoken as well for about 5 minutes. And then you notice that Hwang Kyo-an is sitting there right in front of me and his wife right behind him. They this was at one of those Pentecostal prayer meetings that I was telling you about. And in the room, there are about 60 ministers in this room. And when they pray in tongues, it is really something to hear. That was quite an experience. I've been in Assembly of God churches in America before. They're like, dead Presbyterians compared to these people. I mean, the roar is so loud coming out of the building. It was really a wonderful experience. And Morris and I stood there at the front afterwards, and all of them came and laid hands on us and prayed. And they don't just fiddle around. Oh, Jesus, please protect them. Amen. No way. It's just like serious 5-minute prayer. And the prayer meeting, they gave a program for it. And it's like a serious prayer meeting. They've go on for hours with, I think I had it here, but I misplaced it. The program for the prayer meeting. Here it is. This isn't just where, there's not a sermon. These are the pages of the prayers they're praying. And they've written out the prayers, and it's aggressive prayer meeting. Just a wonderful, wonderful experience. It's a wonderful experience as a person working for election integrity in America, where I show up at churches here and people are like, well, he's kind of controversial. We're not sure we want to have him talk here. Compare that to in Korea, they're saying, please come to our church. Please tell us what to do. And by the way, let us lay hands on you and we're going to pray. I mean, it's amazing to be fighting for liberty with fellow Christians who are awake.
Yeah.
That is missing in America.
But what did it take, Doug, for the church in South Korea to be that awake, that engaged, that involved in prayer? What did it take? It took many of them seeing their families murdered by communism during the Korean War.
Yes.
It took many of them having their families on the wrong side over in North Korea, disappearing, imprisoned, tortured, murdered, starved to death. It took some of them escaping North Korea, getting to South Korea, telling their stories, telling their testimony. It has taken communism to be more than just a verbal threat, but a physical reality.
It's an existential threat.
And in America, Americans are still looking at communism in an academic manner, not in a spiritual manner or in a natural manner of physical threats to life, liberty, and our God-given rights. But until Americans experience the spiritual and physical threat of communism, they will still speak of it in political, academic terms.
You know me, I've been doing this every day of my life since the 2020 election. And I have various degrees of success around the country. You know where I'm having the most success? Oregon. Why would I have most success there?
I'll tell you why.
Because the pain level's the highest there.
Because the pain level's the highest there. The people understand what it's like to live under tyranny. And that is the same thing.
And next is Colorado.
And that is the same thing we have experienced since I started Worldview Weekends, the conference part of it, in 1993. You want to have a really bad turnout? Come here to the Bible Belt, okay? Come to the Bible Belt. Come to the Mid-South. Hold an event. It'll be crickets because they're so busy entertaining themselves with football and sports and fishing and hunting and entertainment and all kinds of very, very shallow things because they have never had to understand and live under any kind of oppression. But you take a Worldview Weekend to Oregon, Washington State, St. Paul, Minneapolis, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Oh, big time in Wisconsin.
We pack them out.
Oh, yeah. I just came from a week in Wisconson.
You were actually in Waukesha. You were actually in Waukesha, where we will be this fall. We were just there a year ago this April for one night only. We had over 1,000 people, standing room only. We had 1,000 chairs set out. We had people standing. One night.
Because they know. They know their elections have been stolen from them.
We did an event in October here in the Mid-South, and hardly anyone showed up from the Mid-South. Almost everybody that was in the room was from out of the area, out of the state.
Yeah.
They are about to get kicked in the fanny. And if you think I'm going to feel sorry for them, I am not. They are going to get exactly what they deserve. And I'm going to have a really hard time feeling sorry for any of them because a lot of these people, by the way, have mocked us, ridiculed us.
Yeah.
Because they think we're over the top. We're extreme conspiracy theorists. Some of them now are open anti-Semites, and they know where I stand. Now, I have to say, some of them have indeed opened their eyes since the 2020 election and COVID.
Yep.
So there is some hope here in the South. Some of them have gone from being our critics and skeptics to saying, hey, call me up on my phone if they have my number. I really need some of your books. But these were skeptics and critics at one time. Now they want books.
Yeah.
So I have to be honest. Some are coming our direction.
Oh, yeah. I got good teams in Alabama.
The
I'm making
vast
progress.
majority of them are still very much asleep, but not in Oregon, not in Washington State, not in California, not in Milwaukee, not in Minneapolis. They're wide awake. So I am saying that persecution and communism has a way of sparking spiritual revival. And maybe in the end, God is going to use the communists to cause people to stop thinking so materially and start to think spiritually, because they clearly are doing that in South Korea, right?
You're basically saying what Joseph said, what you meant for evil, God meant for good, or you're doing a Romans 8 right there, where God's going to bring all this together for good. The famous theologian John Calvin said, when God wants to judge a nation, he gives them wicked rulers.
Well, John would know because he was a wicked ruler himself. So Calvin would know. I think Calvin is probably burning in hell right now, to be honest with you. I got to send you my book that's coming out this fall on biblically refuting the heresy of Calvinism. Of course, he was a rank anti-Semite himself, Calvin, but that's a good quote. That's a good quote, good for Calvin. It's too bad he didn't know the gospel, but there we go. You're
not a tulip guy.
No, I am not a tulip guy. I hope you're not.
No.
Okay, good. I didn't think you were. Otherwise, you wouldn't be over in South Korea because, God ordains evil. God ordains to rape of little children. Well, God ordains these South Koreans to be enslaved. Yeah, well, good luck with that. That's just, that's blasphemy, okay? But anywho, and you people say, they don't really believe that. I have the quotes documented in my book. It'll be out this fall. Let's go as we get ready to wrap. What's coming to America? We touched on this on radio today, but I think we must mention it again because it's so important. Here is this executive order. Do I have the correct one up here? 14248.
It's the one. What's the title? I can't read it. It's too small.
Preserving and protecting the integrity of American elections.
Yeah, I think that's it. It's the 83rd executive order. Is it dated September 2020? 2018?
Well, this one is March 25th, 2025, because he redid it, right?
Oh, no, that's a different one. The executive order that I was referring to, he did in September 2018. And
what's the number on it?
I
thought I had it up during the radio show.
Yeah, you did. And I brought it up too.
Well, you can go ahead and tell us about it. I'll look for it.
It basically gives the president the authority in practical terms to nullify an election. It doesn't actually say that. What it does is it gives the president powers if there's foreign interference, which is why those are the key words that you keep hearing in the media and from President Trump all the time. If there's foreign interference, it gives the president executive power. He can freeze everybody's bank accounts. He can freeze the processes. It can essentially put a halt to what's happened in the election. And I think that's what we're headed for in December, which is, November this year at the midterms. Because, if you think about it, when Trump was elected in 2016, in the 2018 midterms, it went Democratic in the House, and he lost like 40 seats in the House. It was a big swing. That's pretty typical, by the way. Whoever wins the presidency, the other one usually wins the midterms. Yeah, that's the one. And now he's only got a 4-seat majority, and the media is attacking him every day, and people don't like what's going on in Iran. And I've run all the numbers. He's not going to win the midterms, especially if there's cheating. So do you think Trump's just going to sit by and let the House go Democrat and item 1 on their agenda is going to be to impeach him? You think he's going to let that happen? No way, Jose. That guy wants his last breath on earth to be him exhaling and saying, I saved America. There's no way he's going to stand for that. And people, don't remember, but he started Space Force in 2018. And there's a reason he started Space Force, because that gives him the ability to monitor and access everything without having to use the corrupted military that was already in place, because our military is infiltrated and corrupt too. That's why Hegseth had to lay off all those senior leaders. I mean, it's totally corrupt. I have friends who, there are a bunch of Vietnam veterans who are like all senior officers, colonels and generals and whatnot, about a dozen of them. I meet with them every once in a while. They like to have me come on, and I do anything for those guys. And they have me on, and they are working at West Point to get it cleaned up, because West Point is all infiltrated with anti-Semitism, like you brought up. It's infiltrated. Oh, yeah, we're going to bring in all these wimpy guys who can't carry a wounded soldier because we have to be diverse. In other words, they are trying to clean up West Point, and we are infiltrated. Just like this book describes, every aspect of our country has been infiltrated. And after it's infiltrated, you get it ready, and then there's a precipitating event. Click, it'll happen. And I think this November is going to be a precipitating event, and it's going to be warfare. I don't know if it's going to be bullets, but I wouldn't be surprised. A lot of my military friends.
Wait a minute. Say what you just said. There's going to be bullets?
So, my military friends have been telling me for a couple of years, Dr. Frank, you're an idealist. You think all you got to do is go out there and wake everybody up and tell them what to do and show them the fraud. But my military friends say, no, it's going to be kinetic. It's going to go kinetic.
So you believe this fall is going to be a rough fall for America going into the new year?
100%.
Now, you said you've already run the numbers. Trump is going to lose in the midterms?
Yeah.
How bad?
The House. Yeah.
How bad?
I wouldn't be surprised if we're 20, 30 behind.
Where are you going to be election night?
I don't know.
Can I book you, pay your flight, airfare, and honorarium to be here in studio with me? And who else do I have booked? I already have somebody. Garland Favorito is already booked.
Oh, I know Garland from Georgia.
So can I pay you an honorarium, your airfare, your hotel, and have you in studio election night?
You're the first person to ask, so the answer is yes.
And it's on. It's there. You go. There we go. We'll give you a generous honorarium, airfare, hotel, and have you here because we're gonna have a big election night here. So you think the House will we know that election night when you're here in studio? Will we know?
You'll know. Well, you know the answer to that question as well as I do, because on election night it's one thing,
counting.
and then the next morning it's something else.
Right.
Or they'll count for 4 or 5 more weeks like they did in LA until they get the right answer. And so, they just keep finding more ballots until they get the answer they want.
So what do you think will happen if you had to run a tabletop exercise? Tell me, and have you run a tabletop exercise, by the way? If so, how do you think it would turn out? How would it progress? The snags are going to be where? California, Illinois, Minnesota, the liberal states, the 18 states that the Department of Homeland Security Secretary Mark Wayne Mullen's already talking about. Hey, if you don't cooperate, we could fine you. We could actually arrest you and throw you in jail. Tell me the tabletop, how it unfolds.
It's going to be the swing states are going to be where the act. Yeah, and
Wisconsin,
and Arizona, and Colorado, and Wisconsin,
Michigan.
And I think and people are going to be shocked how badly those go, and then it's going to bring other ones right close to the edge. And that's what's going to happen. There'll be foreign interference. And so my guess is the results will be looking pretty bad on election night. And on the following day, my prediction is they'll be gathering evidence. And I bet you the president makes a statement. He's going to say, I have the authority. Here's the executive order. Also, the executive order was re-upped by Biden. So this is not a partisan thing. Here's some of the evidence, the foreign interference. Here's the electronic communications. I told you guys we had a problem and these states wouldn't fix the problem. I can write his speech right now. He can say, I told you there was a problem. The Homeland Security told you the problem. I even invited all the secretaries of states. Remember when he did that? He invited all the secretaries of states to Washington. He said, I invited them all here. I showed them what the problems were. None of the states, except for these few, have implemented the reforms we said. And we have this huge problem. I'm going to exercise my right as executive branch. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to seize all these funds. We're going to stop this process, stop that process. And it's going to be a big night.
So will he have to implement martial law to do this?
He doesn't have to. In the bill, if you read the executive order, He doesn't have. He can declare a state of emergency, and then he has the right to seize all the funds. So all of a county's funds can be seized. All of a state's funds can be seized, can be frozen. He can freeze stuff. So it doesn't specifically say he can cancel the election or nullify the election.
45 days. Would this be drawn out for 45 days?
I wouldn't be surprised if it's April or May of the following year before the National Guard is out there and we're dipping our fingers in purple ink.
Meaning having another election.
Yeah. The whole point is there'll be fraud and they have to seize it and they have to investigate it, and nothing happens quickly in government.
Now, will they be seeing the fraud? Will he be sitting in the Situation Room watching the fraud going down with Space Force, capturing and grabbing all of it?
Just like he did in 2020, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you think he saw the fraud in real time in 2020?
Oh, yeah. He had, and there were several of us, this is before I met you, there were several of us that knew there was fraud, and we were in on some of the inside stuff. And we were trying to get a state to decertify, which is why I worked so hard in Pennsylvania. We found hundreds of thousands of cases of fraud in Pennsylvania in December 2020. We brought those to the legislature, and we expected the legislature in Pennsylvania to decertify. And Trump was waiting for one state to decertify, and he didn't want to stand alone. And there many of, not me, because I love the guy, but many of it, well, he's a good guy. I wouldn't ask him to babysit my kids, but I like him okay. But many of us were very angry at him because he didn't decertify the election. He had the ability to do it at the time. He had all the evidence he needed, and he had the executive order. We were expecting him to do it, but he didn't want to stand alone. And looking back at it, I think it was the right decision. America wasn't ready. We were not awake enough yet. And
now we are.
Now we are. We're a different country today than we were 5 years, 6 years ago. So now he could probably pull it off. If he's just, otherwise he's just a king and everybody will impeach him and that'll be that.
And America rolls into socialism, communism, Marxism with the help of people like John Thune. Who
exactly like what happened in South Korea. Just exactly like that.
Who sadly, John Thune campaigned for the U.S. Senate at my Worldview weekend many years ago. We have the audio. We have played it. And he gave a great speech about Christian worldview and blah, blah, blah. It was wonderful. And abortion and anti-abortion. And boom, gone. Yeah. Gone. Where's that John? Where's that John Thune?
Yep. I've learned something. You know me now. I've spent a lot of time with senior election officials around the country, probably 24 secretaries of states. And I'm talking not just standing there for a photo op. I'm talking hours in their offices with them, hacking into their elections with them, showing the problems. And the one story that I tell, and I try to keep it short, from Louisiana, we actually had Kyle Ardoin, the former Secretary of State.
I interviewed him.
He resigned because of a meeting I had with him, which showed that and we hacked into his elections right in front of his face. Any parish in his state we wanted to get into, and he actually resigned because he resigned rather than admit that he'd met with me when he was cornered by the press. And they said, you met with Dr. Frank for a whole day. We hacked into your elections. You agreed you were going to decertify and then you didn't do it. Why didn't you do it? He said, I never met with Dr. Frank. I don't know what you're talking about. In other words, he would rather resign because we had affidavits proving that he was lying. He'd rather resign than admit that there was fraud. So I think a lot of these senior officials, maybe, and that's why you mentioned John Thune, I think a lot of these senior guys are controlled. And I don't know how they're controlled now. It could be, they threaten to just take your wife out in the backyard and chop her up. I don't know. Or what. But we're entering warfare right now. This is fifth generation warfare. And if we don't think of it like a war, we're going to lose. Yeah, I mean, we have to be serious. This is serious. They cut the arms and legs off that guy in Korea. The communists don't mess around.
Somebody killed Charlie Kirk,
and somebody killed 30,000 Iranians. And this is real. My wife, she was worried about me when I was over there. She said, "Communists don't mess around. This is serious business."
And I'll tell you again, I've been telling my audience, I don't know what's coming and I don't know if I'm going to be here for it or what, but if I am here for it, it happens, I'm going to be prepared. And I just replenished a bunch of jugs of water. I've got my 2 to 3 years worth of freeze-dried food. You know,
I got my silver.
Yeah, that's great to barter with, right?
Yes.
So I don't know. People better take this stuff seriously because we have a lot of events converging on us at the same time. It's all happening right now. It's amazing. And what's so amazing is that you and I are awake and we've had specific experiences that have prepared us and we're awake now. But most of America is still asleep. Well, but this audience is, which is why they tune in. And let me just do tell you, if you're looking for the resources, we just got another shipment of freeze-dried food today, folks. Go to worldviewstore.com, worldviewstore.com. This is real food. It's just freeze-dried. Okay, it's real food. It's just freeze-dried. And we've made it for people. We put it in front of them. They've eaten it. They love it. They compliment it. And then we tell them it's freeze-dried. They can't believe it. And they go for seconds. So it is real food. You need to be prepared. We are living in very troubled times. Inflation could easily flip to hyperinflation. We could easily have economic distress. And you don't want to be thinking, I wish I'd gone and stocked up on freeze-dried food, but I don't have the money. I can't get to my account to buy groceries because we're in a reset or whatever it might be. I don't know what might happen. Or you're in a situation where there's lawlessness in the streets. And you're like, I just want to stay at home. I don't want to go out and get in this. Well, do what we've done. Yeah, you want to get stocked up at every level. That's for sure. You can't buy that from us, but you can get stocked up on the food and the medical kits and much, much more. Worldviewstore.com, worldviewstore.com. Now, Dr. Frank, let's make sure people are aware of your social media handle. Let's show that again, if we could, guys. And that is at Dr. Frank Models. That's on X, at Dr. Frank Models. And you can follow him. And you just heard we have him now confirmed to be in studio with us on election night with Garland Favorito. I mean, I don't really think we need anybody else in studio. If we've got Dr. Frank and we've got Garland, I think we're good to go. But we might add 1 or 2 more. We'll see. It's going to be a big night on election night, but it sounds like it's going to be a very troubling evening. And then several days after that, if indeed, unless President Trump, gets too many threats and decides
something might happen before then.
Well, he might decide I'm not going to fight this. It's not worth it for my family. I'm just going to surrender.
I don't read him that way.
I don't read him that way either. But you know what? We just got a report in the last 24 hours. The Secret Service are saying they have the most threats against their protectees, over 10,000 threats against their protectees coming in. I think they're hitting record levels, unfortunately. And this is showing you the division in this country. It is very, very troubling what's going on. Closing comment, Dr. Frank.
I don't know what to say to people except the freedom we have that we've been spoiled with for so long is not free. And, Reagan you quoted Reagan earlier about the light on a hill. But he also said that freedom is only one generation away from extinction, and that we all have to constantly fight to defend our freedom. Every generation has to refight, and I'm paraphrasing now, has to refight and to reclaim it. And he finishes that famous quote. It was from his inauguration speech when he became governor of California. He finishes that quote, says, "A country that has once tasted freedom and then lost it has never known it again in history." So we are right on that cusp. We either have to fight for our freedom now, or we will lose it, and this will be the last generation of freedom. And then it's not just us. It's not just the dream of America and the success that we've had in America that we lose. It's the umbrella that's protecting freedom and liberty all over the world, the beacon of freedom. We're the beacon of freedom. And that, listening to that message from John's letter, I love his phrase, America is fighting a lonely fight. He recognizes we're like the last stand right here. And so, folks, we need you to wake up and engage. The president is doing his best, but and one of the things in his speech that I thought was particularly new, I hadn't heard before. Most of everything he said is kind of old hat, and I told people, don't get your hopes up. It's going to be the same old, and it pretty much was. But there was one thing in it that I thought was really important. He noted that they've now exposed the fact that the White House briefings were infiltrated, and important information that was supposed to be going to the president was being filtered out and not being provided. So in other words, the swamp is also infiltrated, and our government is also infiltrated. So we have a lot of cleaning house to do. And I tell people the place to start is not to sit at your computer or your television set and complain about it. The place to start is take back your own county, take back your own city, take back your own school board, take back your own sheriff. If every county would start doing that around the country, that percolates up. The solution is not top down. We're not waiting for Trump to save the country. The solution is bottom up. Trump even said that at his inauguration speech. He says he said we're in 2017 January. He said we're returning the power back to the people. That's what he said. And we, the people, we dropped the baton that time. This time we need to pick it up.
Indeed. Amen to that. Dr. Doug Frank, thank you for all you're doing. And thank you for going to South Korea, for reporting on that tonight. And we're going to invite our listening friends to pray for that country, to pray for
Please.
that gentleman, the former ambassador,
Morris Tan,
to pray for the church in South Korea. Such an important program. And as you get updates, would you please let us know and come back?
Oh, be delighted.
Great. Looking forward.
Would you like to interview Morris?
100%.
I can set that up.
Let's do that.
I'll make that happen.
Please do. Please do. He speaks English?
Oh, he like he was born here.
Okay, good.
He was only 2 years old when he left Korea and grew up in America. So
Okay.
He speaks
We would be honored.
clearly.
if
Oh,
you
he's
would.
a great interview. You
let's do that.
would like him.
Let's do that then. All right. Dr. Doug Frank checking in. Dr. Frank Models is his handle on X. Wow. All right. We're going to come back. We're going to go and get a report from our reporter on the ground in Israel, who's here in the U.S. I pre-recorded that this afternoon, and he is and the media are talking about the fact that the United States and Israel could be striking Iran this weekend. We're also seeing, of course, an increase in terrorist attacks being planned both in Israel and in Europe against Jews. More of that to come with our reporter, Aharon Levarko. I pre-recorded with him this afternoon. I'm going to bring that to you right after this break.
The storm hits. The power's out. The stores are empty. Grocery shelves cleared in hours. And now you're staring into an empty pantry, wondering how you're going to feed your family. It doesn't have to be that way. Worldview Store offers premium emergency freeze-dried food, real meals packed with nutrition, ready when you need them most. Hearty breakfasts, savory dinners, hot, satisfying food for your whole family. With a shelf life of up to 25 years, you store it once and forget about it until the day you need it. Just add water. In minutes, you've got a hot, delicious meal. No refrigeration, no fuss, no panic. Hurricanes, blackouts, job loss, supply shortages, whatever comes, you'll be ready. Don't wait for the next emergency to wish you'd prepared. Visit worldviewstore.com. That's worldviewstore.com or call 901-825-0652. That's 901-825-0652.
Joining me now is our reporter from Israel, who's actually here in the U.S., who will be here in studio for a couple days toward the end of the month. He joins us now with the breaking news that Israel is approaching an attack on Iran, perhaps this weekend. He joins us now. He is here in the U.S. on a U.S. tour, speaking from coast to coast, literally. He joins us now. Aharon, thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having me, Brandon.
All right, what's the latest that you're hearing with this report that Iran may get struck this weekend by Israel?
What I'm hearing, Brandon, is our 27 cities are on extreme high alert. They've opened the bomb shelters. They've supplied these bomb shelters with all the necessary things. So that's based on military intelligence and internal intelligence. So things are very tense. They have been tense for the last week, since 2 weeks since the Americans restarted to hit the Iranians. and the Americans are pounding them. So Israel are not only on alert for the defensive, but there is also talk that the United States may unleash them, give them the green light, and they may even go on the attack, which will be an interesting move if the Americans allow that to happen. Up until now, they've interestingly kept Israel out on the sidelines, and I think for the most part we're okay with that, but it just seems that the situation is intolerable. Donald Trump and his negotiating team are done. They're fed up. Marco Rubio was saying, it's not that we don't want negotiations, but every time we leave the negotiation table, they either change their mind, they lie, and they do something totally different. So it seems that they're fed up with negotiating. The other really big news, Brandon, which we may see, I strongly doubt it, but there is talk that we may see an attempt for an Iranian regime change. Until now, at the beginning of the war, that was on the table, but then it kind of got pushed to the side, hoping that a military achievement would cause a surrender or even an internal regime change. That hasn't happened. So that is a possibility, although I'm hearing other ex-generals in the United States military saying for that to happen, it may need up to 600,000 troops on the ground in Iran for a for a regime change. So there's all kinds of possibilities and speculation, but Israel are definitely on the highest alert it has been for a while.
Good time to be in the U.S., huh, Aaron?
Well, it is from the standpoint of, you definitely don't feel the pressure here. In fact, like I was saying to you on the phone, sometimes you don't even know there's a war going on while I'm here in the States, honestly. And some people I bump into, or I'm in the supermarket checking out, and they ask where you're from, and I tell them, and then I say, and they say, what are you here for? And I say, well, there's a war, in Israel. And they go, oh, really? I didn't know about that.
There's a war. I'm telling you, the average American is not real bright, not informed, completely oblivious, and they're happy to be oblivious. They want to be stupid, okay? Ignorance is bliss. They love being stupid.
Yeah.
And that's why this audience isn't the biggest show, because this is a show for educated people. And these people are educated. This audience knows what's happening, but they know full well. They have a hard time finding people in their own church and family that want to discuss these issues, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and sadly to say, what I've seen and what I've seen for years, for decades in Israel, when people get worn down and fed up of terrorism, wars, conflicts, actually even Israelis, not a huge amount, but there is a decent number, more and more actually, they get tired and they don't turn on the news now either. They don't, ignorance is a bliss, as you say. It makes you uncomfortable when you have to face the reality and the stress and the uncomfortableness of knowing what's going out there. And of course, we all need to switch off from time to time and have a breather. But I'm talking about long-term people. They want to, in a way, it's somewhat easier living in a denial than facing the reality.
Yep. Now, we've got an article from the New York Post stating here, this is the New York Post, that indeed the U.S. beefs up military might in Middle East, beefs up the military might in the Middle East, as Trump says he's weighing massive attack on Iran. So you might have soon America joining Israel in this attack. That's kind of what you were hinting at? Are you hearing that?
Well, I am, but I kind of see it the other way around. I see that, the Americans for the last 12 days, they've been massively pounding Iran. So I see it the opposite. I see it that Israel will be joining the Americans. That's where Israel have been waiting in the wings. I actually read earlier today that for the first time in about 3 months, the Americans used a B-1 bomber to attack Iran. They are absolutely pounding Iran, Brandon. So this could be, if Israel joins in, I don't know what the strategies are apart from bridges and ammunition sites. I wonder if they're going to go after some of the nuclear underground sites, Isfahan, where they say it's very, very deep under the ground, and the F-2 bombers aren't going to work. So what they may have to do, they may have to go in with the F-2 bombers, wait a little bit, and then bang, smack the same site over and over. So the other thing also, we've taken out in the last few days top Iranian officials and engineers. So maybe their strategy is changing a little bit. If we remember the Lebanese pager operation, after that happened, Israel said, we've got many more of these covert operations under our sleeve. So that operation took years to plan and wait. So who knows what Israel and America are about to do, but this could be the time. I don't want to get my hopes up too high. You know what happens when that happens. We all get disappointed, like the poor 85 million Iranians who are waiting in the wings. But there is hope and optimism that Trump decides this is it, where these negotiations are a waste of time and energy, which everyone knew about anyway. But let's see what happens.
And then we have this headline: Mossad exposes Iran's plot to infiltrate hit squads and assassinate Israeli leaders.
Brandon, I read all about this. This was serious stuff. What the Iranians, and it was the IRGC. It's been traced back to 4 key operatives from the IRGC. What they did is they recruited a Muslim man living in France, and they gave him a name, Philippe, which is a very common French name. And he was assigned to recruit normal, quote-unquote, normal people to somehow go into Israel and recruit other people around the world and recruit a team and somehow get into Israel. And, of course, money talks. And sadly, there have been a few Israeli Iranians whose roots come from Iran, who speak the Farsi language, that have been arrested. So this, thank God for the Mossad, the Shin Bet, the Shabak, who are the equivalent of the FBI. They were able to expose and bring down this terror cell who were planning who knows what. So what this tells us is that there are people going to all lengths, and that's from France. Can you imagine what's going on in the United States and things that have gone through? I'd hate to think.
Yeah, indeed. Look at this headline. Hamas planned October 7th style attack in Europe on second anniversary of massacre. They were supposedly looking to hit Israeli targets, Jews, people from Israel, and some of them who are maybe from Europe there, but are Jewish, to hit those sites. So again, isn't this interesting? As you have the Islamists taking over Europe, and yet Hamas was going to hit Europe. But then again, I have to wonder how many would really care in Europe. With the rise of anti-Semitism, how many people in Europe would actually be either benign to it or cheering it on?
Right. And this is further evidence that there's plans, there are strategies. And I just was listening to a testimony yesterday of an ex-Muslim who got saved out of it. and he ran through all the details of being recruited, and it was like an injection of blood. It just so stirred him up to follow his God Allah, to follow the cause. When he stood before these masked men with AK-47 and they recruited him, he felt like he was 10 feet tall and he had a cause in life, a mission in life. And because Islam teaches to keep away from materialism and from the sinful things of the world, which is, the Judeo-Christian teaching as well, he thought, well, what else am I going to live for but for Allah's will? And if that means I die, well, then I'm going to die, and I'm going to enjoy it, and I'm going to have my blood pumping for it as well, and I'm going to take down as many people as well. Can you see how it gets the adrenaline going, where there's millions and millions, hundreds of millions of Muslims around the world where they don't have that cause, but to get recruited into something like this, it is such a motivation for them. I hope no one's listening to me and getting motivated, by the way. But, even in cases like this, thank God there are good intelligence services out there. Wow. That are listening into cyber security, listening through cyber intelligence. The cyber intelligence is a really key unit. I studied a little bit how the Israeli cyber intelligence works. It's a hard, laborious job where they listen in. They hear all the family secrets and all the dirty laundry and all that, but they are waiting and listening for maybe anything off the beaten path that may trigger something. They move on it, and many times that's what they find, and that's what leads them to uncovering these plots. So thank God for these people.
Indeed. And then look at this headline. Israeli planes keep getting hit on the tarmac at the UK's Luton airport. So what it sounds like is ground crews, I'm guessing they're Islamic or they just are anti-Semites, keep running into the Israeli planes, the commercial planes.
This article I haven't seen, but I do know that the area is called Luton. If my understanding is right, that's quite a Islamic area. So what does that mean? They keep on getting hit by what?
They're running around on the ground with those service vehicles, and apparently they keep hitting them. Every so often in airports around the world, the ground crew vehicles will clip the wing of a plane on the tarmac, but it is unusual. And it's even more unusual when such vehicles keep running into the planes that belong to the same airline at the same airport. At Luton Airport, just outside London, there were 3 such collisions recently. In every case, the airplane belonged to the Israeli airline, Israir. This has raised suspicion that members of the airport's ground staff, out of anti-Israel animus, may have been deliberately targeting Israeli planes, Aaron.
Yeah. That where there's a web, there's a spider. And by the sounds of it, 1, 2, 3... where is the intelligence? Where is the security? The British Jews, Brennan, just today I read the British Jews have lost all confidence in the security in the UK for looking after them. They are in a vulnerable situation, and this to me looks clear that they are targets again.
Targets again. All right, now you are going to be here a week from now, right?
I will be there in less than a week. I'm coming on Tuesday. Yeah.
Oh, the 28th.
The 28th, I'll be arriving. I'm leaving. Maybe I'll leave the night before, but probably early in the morning of the 28th, the Tuesday next week. I'm in Knoxville right now, and I'll be coming to Memphis.
Awesome. And we're going to try to see if we can get you to Graceland. That's for sure. And, if they're going to do something, can you call the guys there in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem and tell them if you're going to do something, please do it while I'm in the studio in Memphis, because I need to sit there at the desk and talk with Brandon. So if you guys are going to do this, let's get it going while I'm here in the U.S. and at the news desk. Can you pull some strings and get that done?
Yeah, I'll call BB. I'll call our defense minister. I'll see what I can work out. But Brandon, seriously, if something breaks out anytime, day or night, I'm willing to go live.
I know you are. I know you are, but it would be great to have you just sitting right here with us.
It would be amazing. It would be great timing. Yes.
We had 4 or 5 Israeli flags, 4 or 5 Israeli flags show up the other day. So you're going to feel quite at home when you arrive.
Oh, fantastic. Wonderful. I can't wait to be there.
You guys have a beautiful flag. I'll tell you that. My wife said the same thing. It's such a pretty flag. It's only 2 colors, but it's beautiful.
So I don't know if you or the listeners are aware, the blue and white is symbolic of a Jewish prayer shawl called the talit. And that was the idea of the blue and white. And, of course, the star is symbolic of King David and his men. Legend has it that they had the star on their shields. And so that is our flag. But the star is not the emblem of the state of Israel. The emblem actually is the menorah. That is our national emblem. But this is our flag, and yeah, I love it as well.
Well, there's one in the corner. I have another one over here. We don't have a camera that can pick up this other one over here, do we? There it is. There it is.
Beautiful.
There's 2 right there. And we got our eagle. Our eagle was up on the bookshelf over there. And I decided yesterday, let's bring the eagle in. Do we have another shot of the eagle? There we go. Let's bring the eagle in. Dolly saw it earlier today and started barking at it while I was on the air at 1 o'clock. And I had to pet the eagle and show her it's not real. You don't have to worry. But anyway, we got the eagle here as well. So anyway, we're excited to have you here, and we're going to roll out some more Israeli flags so you feel right at home when you get here. All right.
Oh, thank you, Brandon. And the special thing I love about seeing those Israeli flags, they're not burning. They're not actually on fire.
No, they are not on fire. They are safe and sound. Where's this other? Here we go to another one shot. There it is. So, yep, they're not, and they won't be unless someone tries to burn one. Now, I have one at my house, hanging on a tree at my house next to the American flag. I sent it to our mutual Jewish friend here in town that I've introduced you to. I sent it to her the other day, a picture of that. She said, what's so ironic is you're not afraid to fly the Israeli flag, and you're not even Jewish. I'm Jewish, and I'm afraid to fly it. I'm like, well, there it is.
That is irony. That is. But I do understand. I'll be honest with you. Being here, this time I usually come once or twice a year. This time I pick up vibes that I haven't before.
Good or bad?
Bad. As a Jew, Brandon, as an Israeli Jew, I'm picking up vibes, and I'm not the fearful kind, and I'm not oversensitive, but I'm picking up things here, there, and everywhere. And maybe you know what it may be. What I'm reading about the Democratic Party, they are going more and more anti-Israel. In fact, there was a vote just today or yesterday.
The MAGA crowd is full of the anti-Semites now.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. And maybe that's what I'm picking up through news, through that. And there was a vote, something about the Congress, that they had to get a vote whether they were allowed to continue this war. And it was almost a split decision. It was like 48-46. Do you know what I'm referring to?
It has to do with the war powers, I believe, and funding for the war.
Yeah, but look how close that vote was, number one. And number two, I know a little bit about AIPAC, and for about 50 years, one of the goals for AIPAC was to try and send their children to universities, to invite them to their bar mitzvahs, to their synagogues, to their homes, to their picnics, so that they will have friends who are Jewish, and then the Gentile friends will grow up, be educated, and have a positive Jewish outlook and sentiment. That was one of the key ideas of AIPAC, and it doesn't seem to be working anymore.
No, it sure doesn't. Well, we're doing our part, right?
No, absolutely. I don't want to sound patronizing too much, but it is such a support, such a blessing to Israel, such a strength to us, and the influence. And by the way, I haven't said this. everywhere I go, I'm meeting people who know me through your program.
Wow.
And there's at least 3 people who've said to me, because they've heard that I'm going to be in your studio, they've said to me, when you're in Brannan's studio, say hi to Brannan for me.
Okay, good.
At least 3 people.
Well, good. A whopping 3 people, Logan. Yeah, I know there's more than that, but that's pretty good, Aaron. All right, we're looking forward to having you here on the 27th, and you're going to eat well because Melissa's going to make some great food. And
Wonderful.
We're going to have a lot of programming that we get to do and open up the phone lines. We're going to try to open up the phone lines one night and let you visit with the audience as well. So there you go. All right, Aaron, be safe, my friend.
Thank you, Brannan. God bless. We'll be in touch.
All right, guys, if you appreciate what we're doing here, we need your support. Remember, we send him regular love offerings. And so when you support us, we get to support Aaron. So thank you for your support at worldviewfoundation.com, one of our ministry broadcast partners, Aharon Levarko. So please be generous. It is summertime. Giving drops during the summer. Again, I think I told you the other day, I looked online and what came in for one day was $120. I'm like, that's not good. Too many people have gone on vacation. So I do know there are a lot of you, though, that give by mail. So thank you to those of you that are writing checks still and giving by mail. And again, you guys would be shocked at the number of people that support us through the mail versus online. So I don't get too discouraged when I see that number drop for a day or two here and there, because I know that a lot of our supporters prefer the old-fashioned check, and that's fine with us. We'll take checks for the foundation. You'll find that mailing address there at worldviewfoundation.com. Some people say sometimes they'll leave a voicemail or email. Well, you haven't cashed my check yet. I know, because we photocopy every check so we can keep good records so we can send you an end-of-the-year receipt. So don't. And also, here's the other thing, too. From the time that you send it to the time we get it, sometimes this is taking 2 or 3 weeks because we see the postmark and we're like, wow, this was sent quite a few days ago and it just arrived. So be patient with us if you see that your check hasn't cleared in a timely manner. Well, it's taking longer to get here. It was particularly taking longer during, was it FIFA, FIFO, whatever it was called? FIFA. It was particularly taking a long time to get mail during FIFA, okay? So, and if you do it ever see a check not get cashed, let us know, because we get other people's mail in our P.O. box. So hopefully they don't get our mail. And if they do, hopefully they do what we do, which is we make sure to take it back to the front desk at the P.O. box and say, this is somebody else has gotten the wrong box. We understand that happens. You guys are moving a lot of mail. And our local post office is very good to us. They know who we are, and they're very good to us. I have at least one of them on speed dial, on text. I can call his personal cell phone number. So they're very good to us at our local Collierville post office. So if you are concerned that you have not seen a check clear, do not hesitate to let us know, because that may mean we didn't get it. But don't be alarmed if it's 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and it hasn't cleared, because sometimes it's taking 2 to 3 weeks just for your check to get here. Then we got to open it, and then we got to photocopy it, and then we got to get it to the bank, because we're keeping very good records so we can send you a receipt for your contribution at the end of the year. All of that is at worldviewfoundation.com. Don't forget also about legacy giving. Please put us in your estate plans and leave a biblical worldview legacy. We've been doing this, I have, 36 years. Let me tell you something, folks. Everything has been laid down to keep going. God forbid if I'm not here tomorrow or next week. We have enough archives and enough broadcasters and enough content, and of course new people Logan could bring in. But we are who we are. We're not changing course, okay? So I think we've proven that. Remember us in your estate planning. All the details for that are at worldviewfoundation.com.
Take a look at the water you just poured. It looks clean. It tastes fine. But what's really in it? Lead, fluoride, arsenic, chlorine, pesticides, PFAS forever chemicals, pharmaceutical residues, and bacteria. Every single day, these toxins flow straight from your tap into your glass, into your family. It's time for Sentry H2O from Worldview Water. Sentry H2O is the ultimate water treatment technology, designed to remove harmful toxins, balance your water's pH, and enrich it with essential minerals like calcium and magnesium, the way nature intended. From commercial-scale systems to whole-house filtration, to crisp, delicious drinking water right at your kitchen sink and shower, Sentry H2O delivers cleaner, healthier water everywhere you need it. And here's the best part. It installs in just 15 minutes. No plumber, no tools, no plumbing knowledge required. Perfect for homes, apartments, rentals, RVs, refrigerators, and more. Because everyone deserves access to clean, healthy water, including you, including your family. Visit worldviewwater.net. That's worldviewwater.net. And discover what truly clean water can do for your health.
All right, guys, that's our broadcast for tonight. If you appreciate what we're doing, again, we need your support. Please go to worldviewfoundation.com. Make a $5, $10, $15, $20, $50, $100 donation, whatever you can do. It's much appreciated. If you would prefer to support us through the mail, you'll find our mailing address there at worldviewfoundation.com. And then I have to again remind you, go to worldviewgold.com. Many of you in this audience have quite a nest egg in your pension, in your IRAs. And I'm very concerned about the older generation, the baby boomers. Many of you, I'm very concerned because of what's going on with the private credit time bomb, as I've been talking about the last few days and weeks, and we'll continue to talk about, because I think it's one of the biggest stories. And here's an opportunity. The Bible says a wise man, a prudent man, sees danger and takes refuge. The fool ignores it and suffers for it. Look, I'm not here to give you financial advice. I give you news and analysis and my opinion. I cannot give you financial advice. I will not give you financial advice individually. I will tell you, you need to have wisdom, and that starts with gaining knowledge. Knowledge, acquisition of truth. Wisdom, application of that truth. I know all of you need to get at least the free packet at worldviewgold.com. worldviewgold.com or 1-877-864-1072, 1-877-864-1072. These are very serious times we're living in, and unless you trust the system, which means trusting the government and the folks that have set so much of this up, and I don't think you do. And if you don't trust them, and I don't, then if I were you, I would be looking into how to protect what you've worked so many years for, so you can continue to provide for yourself and your spouse, and maybe even leave an inheritance to your kids and grandkids. But first and foremost, just being able to continue to provide for yourself and your spouse and any future needs. So again, get that free packet. We're in very serious and I think troubled waters right now at many levels. Yes, we trust in the Lord. We don't trust in chariots and horses, but the Lord expects us to be wise, to understand the times and respond correctly. And the Bible has an awful lot to say about money and stewardship and how to respond accordingly. I think it starts obviously with the education and you doing your own homework and due diligence. Get that pack. Roll the music. Let's call it a night. And again, I think a lot of you better be going to worldviewstore.com. Worldviewstore.com. Make sure you have plenty of freeze-dried food. It's real food. It's just freeze-dried on hand. I have about 2.5, 3 years worth. This week, I went out and got a lot more jugs of water. I'm just going through my plan again because I don't know what's coming economically, inflation and hyperinflation, civil unrest, bioweapons, terror cells in the U.S. I just know I am not going to be dependent on the local, state, or federal government. Come on, look at the caliber of a lot of these people. Are you really going to trust your daily bread to these people? Be wise, and that starts with prayer, discernment, and then being independent from the system. Trusting on God, but having followed his word and being prepared and debt-free and independent. Do not trust the system. That means the government, local, state, or federal, or the just-in-time inventory that is so fragile. Get prepared. If you're not, worldviewstore.com. May God save America. Take care.
Faith, spiritual values, moral issues, government, economy, education, work, responsibility. What we think about these depends on our worldview. Now, VCY America presents Worldview Radio with Brannon House.
And welcome to the broadcast. Glad you are with us. We're going to be joined today by Dr. Doug Frank. You guys all know Dr. Doug Frank, most of you that are alumni of the broadcast. And I normally have him on to talk about voting, voter machines, all those problems. But not today, folks. We have something that's equally, but certainly I would say even more important. Because we're talking about the communists taking over South Korea. The communist takeover of South Korea and what that means for the Christians in South Korea. Now, as you guys probably remember, a week before he was assassinated, Charlie Kirk was in South Korea. And Bill Federer was there with him. And we talked about that extensively the day that Charlie was assassinated. And Charlie had committed to coming back to America and really talking with President Trump about the plight of the people of South Korea. Particularly, he was concerned about the Christians and the churches in South Korea. Dr. Frank has just returned from South Korea himself, where he had the chance to go to many of the churches and speak with many of the pastors there and Christians there, as well as some of the former high-ranking government officials there. And I asked him last week, would you please make time for us next week, which is today, to come onto the broadcast so that our audience can find out about what's happening in South Korea and to begin to pray for the folks of South Korea and maybe to bring it up to your representatives, your U.S. senators. You have two, as we all know, for each state, and then your various members of the U.S. House of Representatives as they're on summer break. So we're going to have him on to talk about this very fact. You guys might remember that, I don't know what it was, a year and a half, 2 years ago, we set aside $8,000, and we spent the $8,000. The airfare was super expensive. But we spent the $8,000 in airfare, hotel, etc., and give him a reasonable honorarium to send Colonel John Mills to South Korea. Now, I think the colonel, is now inside the Pentagon working. So he's not someone that, probably can come out and do a lot of interviews right now. A lot of times those guys are, I was texting with one of my friends who's inside the DOJ. And yeah, they're not allowed. There's a lot of constraints put on them to come out here and do interviews if you're in the Pentagon, the DOJ, and this administration. And I understand why. They want a cohesive message. But you'll remember that we spent the $8,000 to send John Mills over there. And we weren't excited to spend the $8,000, but we felt like it was important to do to bring to your, maybe we should bring up some of that B-roll footage, guys. And I don't know if there's any clips in there we could play. I should have thought of this before. But we thought that was an important thing to do because we wanted to bring to the attention of the world, and particularly American Christians, what the Christians in South Korea were staring down. And so we're joined today by Doug Frank, who has just returned from South Korea. Doug, welcome back to the broadcast. Thank you for being with us.
Great to be with you, Brandon, as always.
So we spent the $8,000 to send John Mills over their report because that was probably 2 years ago. And there's the book by him, The Nation Will Follow. We felt like that was important because we wanted to start getting Americans to think about not only what is happening in South Korea with the communist takeover and to pray for them and to make this an issue for this administration, but also to show, again, communism is still marching around the world. And I think the globalists are using the communism to then do the destruction and then offer up the technocracy, which is the control. Speak to that before we get into the specifics of what you saw on the ground there.
Since my trip, I've been wearing this hat, which is in Korean, and it says it means destroy communism. The people there gave it to me. I also got another hat they gave me. Yoon again, President Yoon is the one who was duly elected in 2024, who's now in prison serving 3 consecutive life terms.
Well, can you tell our audience why, for those who don't remember?
So what happened was President Yoon was he was a prosecutor. He wasn't really a government kind of person. And what happened is he ran for office. He won the presidency. When he got in there, he wasn't very experienced politically, obviously, but he recognized that there was extensive election fraud in the country, infiltration by the communists in various parts of the government. And I don't want to say he panicked, but he took a pretty extreme measure. In December of 2024, he declared martial law, and he sent out military to several election facilities in the country to seize the computers because he was going to try to capture the evidence. But also, it wasn't just that. It was, there's infiltration in law, infiltration in government. So he was basically taking a pretty drastic step. Well, he declared martial law December 2024. 3 hours later, the National Assembly, it's equivalent to our Congress, undid the martial law, overrode it, impeached him, President Yoon. And then a few months later, they put him in trial and convicted him to 3 consecutive life sentences, as well as several of his senior military advisors. So that's what happened basically 24 and early 2025. And then in 2025, in the spring, they had an election, and that's the election you sent Mills to. And he was there with several other Americans, and I know them as well. And they observed that election, and it was totally fraudulent. And as a consequence, the people there in South Korea, who are overwhelmingly pro-MAGA, pro-American, I'm telling you, if you've ever get a chance to go there, those people love you for being American. It's impressive. But anyway, they're anti-communist, pro-American. They, quote unquote, elected a communist president. And you and I know that's when you have 90% of the public not that way. That's something's wrong with that election. So anyway, and then people came back to America, John Mills included, and reported on that. Well, after that, now here in June 3rd of this year, June 2nd, they had they alternate. So they have a presidential election, and next year they have an election where they fill their National Assembly, which is essentially their Congress, like analogous to us. Then they elected a majority in that Congress of communist representation. And the reason they brought me there was to help them observe this election and expose fraud in it, because they were very afraid what was going to happen. During last year, the Congress tried to pass a majority to change their constitution. Right now, they're a free republic, liberal democracy, they call themselves. But they wanted to change their constitution to be a socialist government modeled after the Soviets. So, in other words, if they didn't want in this June election for them to swing to any more, they only lost by 10 votes last time, and they've easily surpassed that now. So we know what's coming down the pike. They're going to change their constitution from being a free republic, a liberal democracy, they call it, to a communist country. That's happening right now.
And I got to make a quick correction. We didn't send him to South Korea. No wonder we can't find footage of that. We sent him to Taiwan.
Oh, that's different.
Yeah,
but he did go.
Totally different.
But he did go.
Are we sure about that, guys? Are we sure?
He was one of the 4 people that went. I know, because Gordon Chang, he did. Morse Tan, who's former ambassador, went. So I'm sure he was in the group. I've read the report.
It had to be Taiwan. It had to be Taiwan that we sent him to, not South Korea. Okay, guys, I apologize. All right. So anywho,
no worries.
We also now are getting reports from Gordon Chang, who was on the other night. He reported on the 20th of July that North Korea is making preparations for an attack on South Korea. There is no other reason why the North would build this road right up to the border. It's being reported that satellite capture of North Korea's tactical road descending right up to the military line, that'd be the MDL. Why were all the trees removed along the ceasefire line? Why was a new 10-meter wide road and bridges capable of allowing armed vehicles to pass newly constructed? So, again, I don't know why North Korea would do this. If they're on the verge of taking over South Korea politically, unless, of course, they're coming in because they are concerned that the people are in the streets, they're out there, the numbers are too big, and the communists in the South Korean government need the support of North Korea, basically to have a Tiananmen Square type situation.
Yeah, there's another element to add to what Gordon said, and that's that the South Korean military on the 38th parallel, after the Korean War from 1950 to 53 happened, the South Koreans were defending that, and we also put Camp Humphreys there. It's the largest offshore military base we have. We have about 25,000 troops stationed there. Basically, the 38th parallel is the line in the world dividing communism from the free world, which is why we have a base there. It's a big deal. So to add to this imminence that Gordon Chang is bringing up is that the South Korean government disarmed the military on the south side of the 38th parallel. Imagine you have South Koreans patrolling the demilitarized zone, the 38th parallel, unarmed. So by disarming them, you're inviting the North Koreans to come and take power. And, you know, Kim Jong-il, they don't play around. This is real stuff.